Hi and welcome back to SGTV. We are here once again with Brett Murray from Murray's Electrical. Brett, it's good to have you back on the show.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah, very good, thank you, mate. We're going to be talking today about sector sustainability. So, drawing on your experience specifically, have you seen a rise in certain types of jobs in what you're doing?
I mean, we're finding that we're getting a lot of lighting upgrades, LED lighting upgrades compared to the old fluorescent tubes and things like that. We've done a number of warehouses in the last 6 months, which have been full throughout LED lighting upgrades. Particularly old warehouses, some of the big 400-watt high bay lights, they've gone out for corn lamps, and we are finding a lot of people are trying to bring their energy usage levels down, and this has been one that not we've sort of sold to people, but it's a not quite an easy option for companies and businesses to really bring the level of wattage down on their lighting systems, because you find that they're on all day, and then when you start doing the maths, 400 watts, I think was it 120 watt corn lamp, and you've got 48 of them in a warehouse.
All adds up.
It all adds up, and it's the light that you get off of LEDs now is brilliant, and the cost of them has sort of been driven down to there's not a lot of difference between the old style lights, so if you can even get them anymore.
Yeah. So have you seen that sort of change more recently or gradually?
It's been that's been ongoing, but I think recently with the sustainability becoming more and more predominant, and everybody trying to bring down their carbon usage and the sustainabilities, that it's possibly the bigger companies were at it maybe 5 years ago. Whereas now the smaller warehouses and smaller companies are now coming in because they're putting their packages together for sustainability.
And that's had a good impact for people like you and your business?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so do you think that that's taken anything from other sectors though? Are you seeing a decrease in certain amounts of jobs that you were perhaps doing more of before?
No, I think because of the nature of the commercial industrial side, which is predominantly our line of work, that it is much the same. We are still doing all the old things that we shouldn't be doing at the moment, as we're told we shouldn't be doing, but it's the newer processes they're learning and creeping in, but I wouldn't say we've lost the old way of doing things just yet.
But it might be on the horizon, do you think?
I think it depends where carbon usage and sustainability sort of goes. I'm not always convinced that we've sussed out the end goal yet as a planet, nation, company, business. I think, it's like the electric car industry, I think, is possibly a now thing. Maybe in 10 years' time, it might be something different. Is it going to work if everybody in the country went and bought an electric car today, give up the diesel one and all went and plugged it in? Where are we getting this electric from?
Yeah.
That's probably going to have more of a negative impact than all the cars that are on the road. So I think there's a lot of development to have, even though we are all thinking about things the right way, we've not got to a final destination yet.
I think you're right that we might not necessarily have the right tech or the right idea of what's best to use yet, but the fact that people are trying to do something for the better, I think it shows we're on the right path.
Well, I mean, it's even coming into my motorsport as well. We've got a company at the moment which is trying to offset our carbon usage for the events that we do. So that's like the fuel used while I'm racing, fuel used by the service van, every aspect of what it takes to run a petrol-led event, which is seen as not very sustainable, but because it's the sort of history of the sport, to try and preserve it, there's a company, Carbon Positive Motorsport at the moment, that are trying to offset the carbon usage, and I mean, they know all the ins and outs of it. But they're, you know, even in motorsport, we're thinking about sustainability.
Yeah, and I can't remember the name of because you've got like F1 and things like that. There's like an E-class one as well now, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah. There is a lot of electric racing now. Like you say, you've got the Formula E, which is like the Formula One equivalent. I think there's like an extreme E, which is like a 4x4 off-roading. They're all electric vehicles. Even Formula One, Le Mans cars, are all going towards these hybrids. The rally cars, they're in a hybrid era now. You know, still got petrol engine, but they've also got like a battery, an extra boost. It's all very complicated.
Yeah,
I can't get my head around it. But everybody, you know, whether it's electrical industry, motorsport, just even at home, you know, everybody's thinking about this sustainability. It's a very apt thing at the minute, possibly for the right reasons. But I think everything we're doing at the minute is all a stepping stone towards, you know, the better end goal.
Yeah, and that's obviously having an impact on the people like yourself, on the electrical industry as well, because, I mean, I don't know what your workload is in terms of things like EV charging, but as we're saying, everyone's going towards that market at the minute. Yeah. Is that impacting your work?
We've just not really got involved with the electric vehicle charging points at the moment. It's sort of something we had to look at into, you know, obviously there's training courses and accreditations to have, you know, to do the grants and everything. It was just something we haven't got involved with at the time being. Sort of looking at what we're doing, it doesn't seem to be such, I mean, a lot of it in domestic at the moment. A lot of people want electric chargers at their house. On the commercial side of things, I don't think it's sort of quite blown up to, you know, every industrial unit needs an electric vehicle. You've still got people umming and ahhing on the, you know, the wider scope of it. And I think with sort of commercial units, you've got, and work bases, it's the range issue is causing a lot of problems for, you know, the delivery vehicles, you know, out all day, doing lots of hours, lots of miles, and people who work in an office and, you know, travel half the country to go to a meeting and everything, they're not got the confidence to go and sort of take a gamble on it that, yeah, you know, they can't miss these meetings. It's, you know, they've got to make these deliveries, and I don't think it's quite broken into the, you know, commercial industrial sector quite as it has done the domestic.
Do you think it will do though? I mean, I've only recently really started noticing, whether they've been there for much longer, but I'm noticing it more now about these EV chargers, whether it's domestic or in commercial settings. Do you think the rise in that is going to massively take into the work that an electrician does?
Yeah, I think that, you know, obviously it will, you know, while there's electric charging points, you know, obviously there's going to be electricians required for installing them, and you should always get a professional to install them. But I think the big thing, I think it was at Amazon recently have said they're going all electric. Was it Amazon or UPS? It was one of the big delivery companies. They've got we're going all electric vehicles by 2025. It was a really short space of time, and I sort of got taken aback. And I think it depends how they get on to whether the smaller companies are looking and say, yes, it has worked. You know, they're going to use the bigger companies.
People are going to follow, aren't they? Yeah. So if they see someone like whoever it is that is setting an example, yeah, then you're probably going to notice every company's going to follow. Yeah. The workload for electricians doing that specific type of sector is going to massively increase, isn't it? Yeah,
I think, you know, there's a lot of following in footsteps. It always takes one to make a leap, and then, you know, if it works for them, everybody follow. If it doesn't, they get criticised, don't they? And it didn't work for them, so I'm not doing it. And I think there's, you know, it's a journey of discovery with all of this at the minute for everybody. You know,
Let's talk about smart tech, because here at Scolmore we've got the Click Smart Plus smart tech range, we've got the Fort range, which is part of ESP to do with smart security, and smart tech in general is becoming more and more, not necessarily just for home users that can just plug in some of themselves, but in terms of what actually needs wiring and signed off, is that something you're getting more of these days?
Not so much at the moment, but we have got a large property that we're probably rewiring, and they have expressed a lot of interest in the home smart tech, and you know, we are showing them what's. I don't think they're fully clued up with what's available and what they can do. They just like the idea of, you know, turn my lights on. You know, the Amazon stuff, you get a lot of people have put in their houses now. Oh, we like this, we like what this does, we like that. But I'm struggling to keep up with it all.
Yeah.
You know, it's all happening so quickly and develops.
It can be difficult to keep up with.
Develops at such a rate of knots that, you know, sometimes I think you can. I mean, we've probably fallen into the trap of we're still installing what we know, and it works, and that's, you know, that's all they want at the moment. But smart tech and technology, and you know, it's everything like phones. I mean, I don't use my mobile phone to its full capacity. It does so much more than I realise it can. You know what I mean? But I'll probably still use it like a 3310.
Yeah, I can hear the cameramen laughing because I'm guilty of that one. So.
Yeah. But
I think with smart tech though, I see and hear people say, I'll steer clear of that for now until the tech sort of levels, but I don't think it will. I think it's constantly going to be going like that you've just got to keep going with it.
I think you have got to keep up with it. I think it's one of them. It is one of them things that you can take your eye off the ball for a minute and miss a trick sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you know, it's some of this wireless switching now. It's got us out of trouble before now, just because can't get down to where they want to switch. So you know, wireless switching, you know, it's there to help as well. You know, it does get you out of trouble. It can make it a little bit easier. It can be a little bit more costly, but I think sometimes the extra cost on the accessories can sort of save on the labour sometimes. So in some circumstances, it sort of balances itself out.
Yeah. What about when you're looking at what's going on in the world now? Unfortunately, you're seeing a lot of shops decreasing, and for some people who are doing shop fitting work, commercial work, light commercial, it might. I mean, do you think it's sort of having a negative impact now on that kind of thing?
I think the downturn that was made aware to us was the offices.
Because of lockdown?
Because of lockdown and people working from home and lesser numbers in offices, people have either downsized offices, and our landlord that does, you know, it is residential, commercial and industrial. He's got properties in all of them. He's bought 3 properties recently, and he owns the mirror 3 properties next door, and their offices. And when we were looking around, I said, "Are you doing the same as you did to them 3?" No, they're going to be residential this time, because I'm struggling with my office properties and the rental market. Whether that's they've gone down in value or he's just not renting them, I'm not entirely sure. So I've got 12 residential properties going in there, and he's planning, once they're finished, he's going to move the people he's got renting them offices into other offices he's got, and they're going to be residential as well.
Okay.
So
that's quite a big change, isn't it?
So it looks like he's swerving away a little bit from the amount of offices he's got, probably looking at a bit more residential. But as for the commercial warehouses, he's got people moving in and out. We've dealt with 2, maybe 3 of them in the last 6 months. One's just gone into a bigger one. Somebody's, you know, they've all moved up. They're all his customers anyway. He's just moved them all up the chain as growth's happened. So I think with the offices, lockdowns obviously seen people working from home and that, whereas other industries like the warehouse, distributing, you know, shopping online, I think that's fine. You know,
it's probably increased as well.
If people growth,
if people being at home on the internet all day, it's probably increasing what people are ordering.
And residential market, I think, is, you know, it'll always be there. You know, people are always going to rent houses. whether it's short or long term.
Another one I wanted to talk about was, without getting into the ins and outs of why and everything like that, you've seen a lot of public service buildings being closed, sold, dismantled, police stations, fire stations, ambulance, all that kind of thing, hospitals. So I imagine with the closing of them, that's going to have a negative impact for electricians as well.
Yeah, the closure of any building without any sort of plan of redeveloping or refurbishing them has an effect on, the whole construction industry. It's always when you see empty properties of any nature, you think, there's some that could be good to someone in what, surely that, but you see so much of it now that it does make you wonder, where the issue lies, sort of thing. Is it the cost of renovating or refurbing, or is it just the cost of rent for that particular sector? And like you said before, the shop industry, the shop fitting, a lot of smaller shops shut in, never to open the doors again, and they're still sitting there, 18 months later, and you sort of do wonder to yourself whether they're coming back or whether that was, the pandemic was sort of terminal to that business.
It's definitely an interesting thing to keep an eye on, and it's not been good, I wouldn't say, but it's definitely changed how things work, I think, in terms of, like you say, commercial properties being switched to residential, potentially increasing small industrial, public service businesses changing down, or the fact that they might even be not necessarily a public service building anymore, they might be sold privately, which still involves an electrician going into that property for work. So it's one to keep an eye on, isn't it?
The amount of new building going on as well always amazes me. I've worked up here.
As in residential? Or?
Yeah, residential. I mean, it must have been 10 years since I've made this journey. I've worked up local once to here, and seeing the new roundabouts and new road layouts and new warehouses, and then the new houses built right up. They build right up to these areas now, don't they? And I always think that's amazing how close they get it. It's like it down close to where I live. Houses coming right up to the new road, the industrial units coming right up to the new road. They've built an industrial unit, looks next door to somebody's house, and you just think, oh, they're getting away with it.
Yeah. I mean, some people might like that.
Yeah.
I can't really say any more than that. Yeah. Each to your own. So, I mean, with the changing of different sectors and each one maintaining certain levels of stability, do you think that you have to keep up with certain qualifications or change qualifications to keep up with all this, what's going on?
I mean, just in the time I've been doing it, I've seen, seen it sort of full cycle. I think I've come into the industry in the recession 2008, and we've sort of gone to a time of growth. New shops were going in, and it all looked good again, and we've sort of almost gone back to where I've started with the recent couple of years. I think you've got to try and keep up with. It's the modern technology that is keeping up with, and if that requires, training and right qualifications to do so, then it's always the thing to do.
Worth doing,
yeah.
Okay, well, I think that brings us to a close of today's episode. Brett, I want to thank you again for coming on. We've got a few more episodes featuring yourself here at SGTV, so they're there to keep a lookout for on our SGTV channel. As always, please make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button below, and we'll see you next time.